So today is day 2 of 2025, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone that subscribed in 2024, everyone that has followed this channel and continue to help us to grow. And with day 2 of 2025, I just want to kick off again the new year, talking about all the difficult conversation that we need to have in the Caribbean. Not a lot of people really talking about it, but I want to take on this for 2025 and to talk about these conversations, to have these conversations. And one such conversation is crime in the Caribbean. 2024 was not a good year for the Caribbean. We see a spike in crime and violence in places like St. Kitts and Nevis, in St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Jamaica. And today's story, I'd like to talk about the state of emergency in the beautiful twin island of Trinidad and Tobago. So, let's talk about it. Yes, so as I said, 2024 was not a good year for the Caribbean in terms of crime and violence. And today, in today's video, just want to take a look at Trinidad and Tobago and the state of emergency that was called to Trinidad and Tobago over the weekend to take a look into what is causing the spike in gun violence, gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago. So I have a video to react to, so let's take a look at it together. Here we go.
Certain criminal gangs, and I'll leave out the places where at this stage, but I can say throughout Trinidad and possibly Tobago, are likely to immediately increase their brazen acts of violence in reprisal shootings on a scale so extensive that it threatens persons and will endanger public safety.
An assassination attempt, a retaliatory shootout, and 6 people killed. It was a weekend of gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago, and it has led to the authorities declaring a state of emergency. It began on Saturday. A known gang leader was leaving a police station in the capital, Port of Spain. His identity has not been made public. While he was leaving the police station, there was an attempt on his life. The gang leader managed to survive, but one of his crew members was killed. On Sunday, there was a reprisal. 5 people were gunned down inside a shop. These incidents have the potential to start off a vicious cycle of killings. That is why Trinidad and Tobago's government has declared an emergency.
At this stage, the government has taken the decision there is not going to be any curfew. That decision is because the targeting of this national public state of emergency is on those who engage in criminal activity with criminal intent.
Trinidad and Tobago's military has been deployed. The police have been given enhanced powers. They can search people and property without a warrant. They can detain someone for 2 days on suspicion alone. The suspects can also be denied bail. All of this isn't just a result of this weekend's events. Trinidad and Tobago is a hotspot for gang violence and murder. The Caribbean nation has one of the highest murder rates in the world. It has only about 1.5 million residents, but this year the official homicide count hit 623. It's the worst on record. This alarming figure was part of the reason for the emergency declaration. How did things get so bad in Trinidad and Tobago? The simple answer is drugs. The country is located right off the coast of Venezuela. It makes it a transit point for Venezuelan drugs, which then make their way to either the US or Europe. Gangs in Trinidad and Tobago serve as the middlemen. Where are they getting these weapons? Mostly the US. The US Government Accountability Office published a report this year. It analyzed about 7,500 guns that were confiscated in the Caribbean. Around 73% of them originated in the US. These American weapons are fueling gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago and other nations as well. Most infamously, Haiti, which is also overrun with gangs. The US is the world's biggest market for drugs. The US's insatiable appetite for cocaine and other drugs has wreaked havoc in the Caribbean. and this emergency in Trinidad and Tobago is a direct result of it.
Yes, so as you can see, what is fueling the crime in Trinidad and Tobago and pretty much across the Caribbean is the drug trafficking. And this is not new. We have seen the spike for in particular like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. We saw a spike in gun violence in Jamaica 25 years ago that was directly linked to this same drug trade. But now we're seeing in this report that the drug trade from Venezuela and the proximity Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago, and another factor that they're talking about also is the guns coming in from the United States of America, and that 70 to 75% of the guns involved in these gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago, they are coming from the USA. And not only that, but a large portion of the drugs that's been smuggling through the Caribbean for decades, the final destination for most of these drugs going into America. So this is something that I've always said, that I don't think the Caribbean islands can get rid of this drugs problem, the transshipment between like where the drugs is coming from, flowing through the Caribbean and final destination, whether it's the United States, whether it's America or anywhere in Europe. The Caribbean islands cannot deal with this problem on their own. So I believe, and this is my personal belief, like in order for the Caribbean to see any success in the stemming of violence in the Caribbean, the American government is going to have to play an integral part, because that is where the guns are coming from, and that is where the final destination for the drugs, for most of the drugs flowing to the Caribbean. America is the final destination. So I don't know, the world, the Caribbean, everywhere is freaking out right now about Donald Trump's pending inauguration and what Donald Trump his plans for America and what he's going to do. I don't know if a part of that is any plan for the drug flow into America, and if Donald Trump would be open to, there are army bases, there are hundreds of US bases all over the globe. And I just thought that it's crazy that being the Caribbean we're right in that same community, that the American government is not playing a more active part in terms of surveillance of ocean and skies throughout the Caribbean to kind of stem the flow of drugs and gun. And I don't know what to say, if it's intentional. Why wouldn't the American government play a more active part, especially because drugs going into America accounts for a lot of debt in America, account for a lot of homelessness, a lot of dysfunction in that society. So we'll see what happens in 2025 if Donald Trump if there's any plan apart from tariffs and whatever is going on now, if there's any plan that Donald Trump has to kind of stem the flow of drugs going into America and the guns leaving America into the Caribbean. So guys, sound off in the comment section. Be a part of this conversation. Let me know what you think, what can be done about Trinidad and Tobago in terms of the gang violence that is going on there. I think for the most part, we know that state of emergency is just like a Band-Aid type of issue. It's a Band-Aid short-term fix, but it's not something that's sustainable. We have seen this before in Trinidad and Tobago 13 years ago, state of emergency. We have seen it over and over again in Jamaica, where the state of emergency it never works. Like, it just is there for a temporary fix. The gangs, they just go and hide out for a while, and as soon as the state of emergency is lifted, then they go back to their regular activities. So these are just some of the conversation that I'd love to have in 2025, and not just having a conversation on this platform, but my hope one day is to get a group of people together from all over the Caribbean, like people who really want to see the Caribbean be a better place, so we can have meeting of the minds and see what really is causing crime and violence in the Caribbean. A lot of times it's blame on music, it's blame on movies, games. There are people who say it's about, because the Caribbean also has one of the highest rate in the world of single parent home. That could be another problem. So these are just some of the things that we have to, sit down, have meeting of the minds and talk about and see how we can not just talk about the problem, but come up with solution for crime in the Caribbean. So as I said, sound off in the comment section. Let me know where in the Caribbean you're watching from, and what do you think could be a permanent fix to crime and violence, gang violence in the Caribbean. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.